Hello YouTubers, today I'm happy to show you how to make our in the hoop compact floppy disk bag. This is going to be two hoopings. We're going to do the front first, then we're going to do the back, and then we'll put them together. This is going to be made in a 4x4 hoop. It's completely lined, so there are no exposed seams inside. You will be able to see the satin stitch for this and this part. But other than that, there's no exposed seams inside. And we will start with our fabric. So this is all of our fabric we're going to need. Our little bag, we're going to make blue this time. When you download the file, you'll get a full cutting list. This is our outside fabric. For this one, I've said on the cutting list 8x7-ish. It needs to fit in your hoop, so whatever size fits in your hoop. So this is our outside fabric. This is our lining fabric. These are our applique pieces that we're going to need. I've made them a little bit bigger than you're going to need because it makes it easier for me to cut. This is our zipper. It needs to be 6 inches or longer, but you're probably just going to be a 7-inch zipper. As always, no metal teeth and no big plastic chunky teeth. Your machine cannot sew through them. Instead of using batting, we're going to use cutaway stabilizer again, or you can use any kind of interfacing. We can't use batting because the bag's so little. If we do, it'll just become like a big poofy mess. This is the one that I'm using. It's available at my local sewing store, but you can use whatever kind you want to, just as long as it's a little bit more sturdy to give your bag some shape. Okay, like I said, our little bag is 2 hoopings. Our first hooping is going to be this front part of our bag. So what I did is I hooped our 8-ish by 7-ish piece of fabric, and I've used some spray basting spray. Make sure it's sewable to make sure that it adheres to our cutaway stabilizer. This cutaway stabilizer is going to stay in your bag, so make sure it's a cutaway. It's the same brand I've been using. So it needs to be a little bit stiff because it's going to give your bag some shape. I also have our 2 pieces of applique fabric. This is going to be the white for here, and this is going to be our gray for up here. You're also going to need your thread colors. So I've used white, black, and silver. And we're going to go over to the machine now. Alright, so we're over at the machine. The first thing the machine is going to do is we're going to applique this bottom piece on. So the first thing the machine is going to do is a placement stitch, then the zigzag stitch, then the satin stitch. We'll do this in fast forward mode, so we'll show you some of it. So here we go. Alright, so the top of our bag is done. So this little part of our bag is done. What we're going to do now is we're going to remove this from the hoop. And then what I'm going to do is, so take it out. This is why you need the spray adhesive. They're going to stay together, so you want that spray adhesive to help make sure they stay together. So what I'm going to do now is take and I'm going to hoop. This is some Tearaway. So this is Tearaway stabilizer. I'm going to hoop it, and then we're going to make our other side. Alright, so in our hoop, this is some Tearaway. Please don't use fuse and tear. This needs to be a little bit heavier because we're going to put a lot of stitches in it. So this is our Tearaway. We're going to get ready to make the back of our bag. I wanted to talk about the zippers real quick again. Alright, this is the big plastic chunky teeth, which we can't have. And these are the metal teeth, which we can't have. Your machine can't sew through them. This is a zipper we're going to use, and they're plasticky nylon-y teeth. And that's what we're going to use. If yours is, got like a crick in it when you take it out, you can iron it real quick. But remember, you can melt these. So these are our other 2 pieces of fabric that are outside fabric. It's a 4x5 and a 5x6. What you're going to do is you're going to iron them in half. They're a little bit bigger than they need to, so iron them. And it's going to be our top and our bottom of our, above and below our zipper. And then these are our 2 pieces of stabilizer. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the stabilizer in between. So we're going to open them up. We're going to put a little spray basting spray in there. Put that in there. and then fold it down. And that's going to be our bottom part of our little bag. And then we'll do the same thing for this one. It'll be our top part. So that's basically what it'll look like, and these are our two applique pieces. I've gone with a coordinating zipper this time. If you want to do a contrasting one, go for it. Also, you need to make sure that your thread matches your fabric pretty well, because you're probably going to be able to see some of the stitches on the side. So we're going to take all of this and go over to our machine, and we're going to stitch this out. Alright, so on our second file, the first one it's going to stitch out is basically your placement stitch, and this is going to be for my zipper. So what I'm going to do now is take my zipper. It needs to be closed, and your pull needs to be over here to your left. And you're going to center it between your lines, and then we'll tape it into place. I'm using low-tack painter's tape. You need to use some kind of low-tack tape because you're going to have to remove it, and you don't want it tearing your stabilizer. So, also with the painter's tape, if the machine stitches some of it, it'll be okay. If you use a really sticky tape, it won't be okay. Your machine will not like you. Also, make sure you're using your coordinating thread right now in case any of your stitches are seen. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it back in the machine, and the machine is going to stitch along the top and the bottom of our zipper to hold it into place. Alright, so it has been sewn into place. You can see our stitches here and here. So you're going to take your tape and remove it. What we're going to do now is, this is the skinnier of the two pieces. We're going to place it on the top. I like mine really close to the zipper. So you're going to place it along that zipper. You need to cover the stitch it just stitched. It's going to stitch along it again. So place it as close or as far away from the zipper as you want, as long as it's covering that seam. You're going to tape it into place, and then put it back in the machine where it'll stitch along it again. So it's just come out of the machine. It's stitched along our zipper. What you're going to do now is remove your painter's tape. We are going to need to pin along the outside of our fabric. If you do not pin, it will pucker like you will not even begin to imagine, because nothing's holding our fabric in our hoop, so it'll just move anywhere it wants to. Now you can flip over to the back and see this is where our outline is. To pin outside of that, the machine won't stitch outside of that line. Also, make sure that your pins have popped back up so they're not going to scratch up your machine. It's going to go back into the machine now, and we are going to applique our little gray part on, and then the black part too. So we've got all of this top part of our bag done. What we're going to do now is we're going to repeat the process with our bottom part. So you're going to put this as close to your zipper as you want. You're going to put your coordinating fabric back in, and it's going to stitch along that top stitch again. And we're going to tape it into place, and back to the machine it goes. Alright, so we got this bottom stitch done. So you're going to remove your tape. When it stitches this stitch out, you're going to want to make sure that none of the heads of your pins are going to get in the way of your foot. So we're going to pin again, and then we're going to applique this part. So this is all of my pins done, and you can see on the back, see my outline. I'm going to make sure that my pins are outside of that outline. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put it back in. We're going to put our black thread in, and we're going to applique this little piece on. Alright, so this part has been appliqued on. Now what we're going to do is we're going to remove all of our pins. It's going to go back into the machine, and the machine's going to stitch basically just a placement guide for you. So I removed all my pins and put it back in the machine, and this is going to be a guide stitch for when we line up the top and the bottom. What we're going to do now is we are going to take our zipper and open it more than halfway. When the machine gets done, it's going to want to pull back to center, and that's why we say more than halfway, because you don't want this bump in the way. It cannot be over here because your machine's going to stitch. So you want it close, but not close enough that it's going to get in the way of your foot, or you're going to be sewing through metal. You can't do that. What you're going to do now is you're going to take your top, the piece we made first. I've cut this down. We're going to flip it over. And what you're going to do is you're going to line this silver part up with this silver part, and use the bottom as a guide to kind of line these two up. So we'll line them up. So we'll line them up, and you can use your fingers too. And then we'll line this bottom part up as well. All right, it's gonna be a little hard because you got a bump in the way, but you can kind of feel where everything's at. And then what we're gonna do on top of that is place our extra piece of batting. So we're going to put a piece of batting on top of all of this. And now what you're going to do is you are going to pin all of this together. And make sure you're pinning outside of that stitch line so that your machine doesn't stitch any of your pins. Now, this is just to hold everything into place. You don't have to worry about puckering, so you don't have to pin it to death. Alright, so see, there's the outline of my bag, so it won't stitch outside of that. So it's going to stitch all the way around again, holding our two layers together. Alright, so our machine's stitched all the way around. And now we are going to remove all of our pins. We're going to flip over to the back. We are going to lay our lining face down, or right side down. We're going to take some tape and just tape it into place. You can also float it into place if you're feeling brave. I'm not that brave. It's going to go back into the machine and stitch all the way around again, leaving an opening at our bottom. Alright, so there is our bag, and it's left a little opening right here so we can flip it. So you see there's no stitches there. So we are going to remove our bag from the hoop. Alright, so I removed it from the hoop and then trimmed around my bag. What I did was also remove the tearaway that was left over, and I cut this cutaway because it's just going to add bulk to the bag. You can leave it. I've left a little extra. It's going to make it easier when we have to close this hole. So what you're going to do now is you're going to take your bag. You have an opening right here, and you're going to flip it through that opening. So this is basically the inside of our bag. That's our lining, and this is going to be our inside. What we're going to do now is we're going to take this tearaway and we're going to remove it. Alright, so I have all of our stabilizer removed, and any loose threads needs to be trimmed up. You will have some loose threads when you're pulling your stabilizer because we stitched onto it, so don't think your bag's going to fall apart. It's normal. Make sure your corners are also turned out before you do this. What we're going to do is we're going to close the opening on the bottom of our bag. Ideally, you would hand sew it shut, but I think hand sewing is a form of torture. So I use peel and stick, and it works like double sticky tape. And so what you do is you guesstimate your opening size, And we'll stick it here. Then you're going to put everything inside your bag like it needs to go. You're going to peel off your sticky tape and your hole is going to be closed. Now, you can use any number of products on the market. I do not care. And it doesn't really make any difference as long as the hole in the bottom of the bag gets shut. You can also hand sew it if you want to. But see, it comes apart. And then you peel and stick. So we peel and then we stick it together. Alright, so I have the bottom of our bag closed up. What you're going to do now is you're going to open your zipper all the way and you're going to flip your bag out through your zipper so it will be your right side out. And you're going to make sure to have your corners all pushed out. We zip up our little bag and there it is. So those are in the hoop floppy disk bags. They're pretty quick to make and they're kind of a lot of fun. You can put some money in it, take it, a little throwback fun. I hope you enjoyed our little tutorial. If you have any comments or questions, please like and subscribe and we will be back soon with another video. Thank you.